Hello everyone, welcome to CodeSpot. I'm Abarna, I'm a web developer, and today we are going to see how to build a website using Flexbox. This is the website that we are going to design today using the Flexbox property in CSS. If you are new to Flexbox, check out my tutorial on basics of Flexbox. I would mention the links down in the description box below, and let's get started. So let's look at the website that we're going to build today. This is the website that we're going to build today. There are the social icons towards the right. You'll have a logo and News Today heading. Below that you will see the navigation. And then down you have the breaking news and a marquee tag, which helps the text to scroll all the way towards the left. Going down, you're going to have featured news, latest news, and our picks news. So in the featured you have the carousel, and the rest all just plain old news. Going down you have the world article, sport article, and an aside section consists of recent news. And further down you have about section, Instagram section, there is a button, and also subscribe to news section. You also have a button to subscribe. Then finally the copyright information. So this is the website that we are going to design today. Now if you resize it and go for a mobile view, you can see the navigation bar changes to a hamburger menu, and then all the latest and our picks news comes all the way down. The world and the sports news come beneath one another. And so does the about section, Instagram, and subscribe section. Finally, the copyright part. Now you will see exactly how easy it is to do this in the Flexbox. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code as my code editor. I have already created two files, index.html and style.css. I use the live preview option right here to see the output as we code. To enable this live preview option, you need to search for an extension called Live Server. And then you have to install the live server. You'll be able to get a button called Go Live beneath your index.html5. And when you click on that, you can see the live output. Alright, let's start with the HTML head and body tags. I'm going to first start with the hello world to see if this live preview option works. I'm going to create a paragraph tag saying hello again. I'm going to save, and you can see the output is reflected on our browser window. Now let's go to the head tag and start with linking our style sheet file. Now let's go to the style.css file and just give a background color to check whether this is working. Yes, it does. We are going to include some bootstrap into our file, so we don't have to waste our time typing up the CSS. So we should go to the bootstrap website, copy the CDN and paste it into our head tag. And then let's copy the JS CDN links and paste it in our body tag. And it's that simple to include bootstrap into our index.html file. I have uploaded the code for this news website in the github.com, and I will mention the links down in the description box below. This tutorial is for absolute beginners, so this is a step-by-step tutorial. So before we jump into the tutorial, I would like to go to the GitHub web profile and download the entire code. I would like to copy the images folder into our project file so you would get access to all the images that is used in this website. Alright, now we got all the images inside our project. Let's get started. I'm going to start with the header tag. I'm going to create a div class called website header. Inside, I would first give the logo image. I'll fetch the image from the images folder. And there you have it, the logo image in our browser window. Next, I will give a h1 tag called News Today. Then I would create a div container for the social icons that you would see towards the right of your website. Links to social media like Facebook, Instagram, etc. To get those icons, I would like to visit the website called fontawesome.com. Go to the start button here and just copy the whole CDN and paste it inside our head tag. Let me also give the comment. Below that, I will paste the link. There you go. Now I'll quickly type all the social icons for Facebook. If you go to the browser window, you can see the F icon below the News Today h1 tag. Let's go ahead and create the rest of them. Twitter, Google+, Instagram, and RSS. Now, in case if you're wondering how I'm coding for these icons, go to Font Awesome website, go to the icons, and search for the icon that you want. Click on the desired icon that you want. I go for Facebook Square, and there you have it, the Facebook Square, and you have the code on top of it. As soon as you click it, it gets copied, and then all you have to do is paste it wherever you want. Now if I save it and go to the index.html, you can see the last icon that we have added. Now let's remove that and let's move on to the style.css. I'm going to start with the body tag, starting with padding and margin. I'll set them to 0, and then I'll move on to the header tag. First, I would set the background color to black. I'll set the font color to white. Then I would style for the website header. I would give some padding 20 pixels. I would resize the screen size so you can see the output as we code. I'll give it some height, 80 pixels. And I'll set the display to flex wrap. Now I save it. As soon as I save it, you can see all the child elements of website header go next to each other horizontally. Now this is the basics of Flexbox. You can't see the icons anymore because you have mentioned the font color as white. Now if I remove that and save, you can see all the social icons. We need the social icons also horizontally. Especially in the smaller screens, it is not visible. So let's go ahead and style the logo and News Today. So starting with the image, I'll give the width as 50 pixels and height as 50 pixels. I'll set a margin 0 and 30 pixels left and right. Now moving on to our h1 tag, I'll start with a margin auto 0. That means it is vertically centered. And then the social icons. I'll say text align right. So it is pushed all the way towards right. Now, if I expand the browser window, you can see the social icon still remains in the same position. This is because the div container that is containing all the social icons have a smaller width. Let's go to the inspect element and search for this social icons div class. When you click on it, you can see the blue light highlighting the width and height of the div icons. To fix this, we need to use the Flexbox property to say that it is okay to expand till the end. To do that, we need to set the flex grow to 1. Now by setting that, you can see the width has expanded all the way from news today till the end. And the text align right is working perfectly fine. I'll quickly resize the browser window so it is more visible. Now I'll go ahead and style the individual icons. Starting with the margin, I'm going to give left and right margin as 7 pixels. I'll set the cursor to pointer. Now you can see when I move the cursor towards each icons, they are turning into a hand symbol. Again, I will resize the window horizontally so you can see the output as we code down below. Now, moving on to navigation, I'm going to go ahead with the bootstrap navbar so it is easy for us to code. So here I'm looking for the collapsing navbar. Because we want the navbar to collapse into a hamburger menu for the mobile screen size. So we'll just copy the whole code that is available here in W3 Schools and paste it in our navigation bar. So let's go ahead and paste the whole code beneath the social icons. Here we do not need the BG dark and navbar dark classes because they are basically templating styles. So we'll go ahead and delete them. We also do not need the navbar brand because we've already created a brand icon for the News Today website. Now I'll go below and quickly change the links in our navigation bar. Home, politics, and world. Now if I go ahead and go to the index.html browser window, you can see this navigation bar next to the social icons, which is wrong. So let's go to the index.html and see what we have done wrong. Here I have placed all the navigation bar inside the website header div class. So let's go ahead and change that. Now I've kept the navigation bar outside the website header div class. It is still inside the header tag but outside the website header div class. Now if I save and go to the browser, you can see the navigation bar has come down below. Alright, now let's go ahead and create more links in our navigation bar. Business, travel, technology, sports, cars, videos. Alright, now let's go ahead and style them. I'll start with the nav tag. I'll give it some height, 50 pixels. I've given margin bottommost 20 pixels. I'll give the background color as black. Then I'll start with the UL tag, margin 20 pixels. This would set only the margin top as 20 pixels and rest is 0. And then I'll go ahead with the nav bar nav. I'll go for each links. I'll set the color to white. I'll set the font size to 20 pixels. I'll give the font weight as 800 so they are bold. And moving on to navbar nav li, each and every list items, I would first set the padding to 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Now when I hover over the link tag, I want the color to be E08B6C. Now if I hover, you can see they are changed into brown color. On the second thought, since I'm going to use this color a lot of times, I'm going to set it as a global variable by setting the root tag. Now I can use the variable inside color property. And if you check, it works still the same. Now let's go ahead and go with the breaking news section. So starting with the breaking news heading, and then we'll move on to the marquee tag. I'll remove this behavior and the direction is going to be left. Now here I'm going to give links to some breaking news. I'll set the class to breaking news and I'll set some random text inside this href. I'm also going to mention a time of this news here and then the random text. I'll give 3 breaking news, copy and paste them, and change the dates. Now if you can see the breaking news just going one below the other. Now we need to style them so they go horizontally next to each other. So let's go to the style.css and start with the breaking news section. I'm going to give it a padding 030 pixels, 060 pixels, and I'm going to set the display to flex. Now you can see the breaking news and the marquee tag appear one next to each other. Now I'll go ahead and style the breaking news section. We'll start with the b text. I'll give it a width of 200 pixels, font size 16 pixels, and I'll transform the text to uppercase. And I'll also give the color as color brown. I'll set the font weight as 600. I'll give the margin auto 0 so it is vertically center. Now I'll style each and every breaking news. I'll give the padding as 630 pixels. I'll give the color as white. I'll set the font weight to 800. I'll set the display to inline block. So now they appear one next to each other. I'll also go ahead and set the time as display inline block. So even the time and the text appear one next to each other. Now I'll reduce opacity for this time. I'll set the RGBA tag to 255, 255, 255 and 0.5 as the opacity. Now you can see if I change the opacity to 1, you can see they are back to white color. It is fully white. And if I reduce it 0.5, the color fades and it turns to a grayish color. So let's go ahead and set padding 0, 10 pixels, and then I'll set the font size to 12 pixels. So the timestamp is smaller than the actual breaking news. Now when I hover over the news, I want the color to change to brown. So I'll set the color and then I'll also set the cursor to pointer. So there you go. When I hover over the news, the color changes and the mouse changes to a hand symbol. I'll also use the same property for the social icons too. Oh, actually that is dot social icons. Well, it is for each and every icon, so. Now when I hover over the mark you tag, I want the news to stop moving. To do that, we can go to the mark you tag and set the on mouse over to this dot stop, and then on mouse out this dot start. That means when I take the mouse out, it should start moving, but when I hover over, it needs to stop. So let's go to the browser and check whether that works. So when I try to stop the mark you tag, it stops, and when I take the cursor out, it continues moving. Now let's give this whole breaking news section a height. I'll set the height to 30 pixels. Now it is not appearing because of the padding, so when I remove the padding, you can see the mark you tag is positioned properly. Now let's set the padding to 30 pixels, so there is some space between each and every news in the breaking news section. Now let's move for the featured, latest and our picks news section. So in the featured you have the carousel, and then in the latest you have news one below the other, and same in the our picks section. So let's go to the index.html, and all this news comes under the main tag, so I'm going to give main, and I would put each and every one inside an article. Inside article I'm going to have 3 sections called featured, latest and our picks. Let's go to Bootstrap carousel and copy the code. So I'll come all the way down and see for the one with indicators and caption. So let's go above and copy the code, the one that comes with the indicators. So let's go ahead and copy them inside the featured section. Now I'll quickly change the source property to our images that we have: carousel 1, carousel 2 and carousel 3.jpg. If you go to our index.html, you can see the 3 images and the carousel property. Now we also need the captions for each and every images. So let's go and copy the caption part alone. Now I'll quickly replace the h5 and the p tag with some random text. Inside the p paragraph tag, I'm going to paste some date. And now if you see in the browser, you can see the caption appearing in our carousel. Now let's move on to the latest and our picks section. Starting with the heading for each and every section. For featured, latest and our picks, I'm going to use the h2 tag for them. And then I'll include all the news inside a section called news, and I'll use a class called news container to hold each and every container for the news. So a container would contain an image, and then some text that describes the news. I'll give it a class called popular news text so we can style them, and I'll place some random text inside them. I'll copy the same section and then I'll just change the content for the image and the paragraph tag, and I'll repeat the same thing for the our pics section too. Let's open the browser window. You can see the images and the text files. Alright, let's go ahead and style them. First, I will set the popular news to display flex, so all of them come next to each other. But this is not working because the image is taking all the space. So we need to set the image files to width 100%, so they are not oversized. Now you can see they are one next to each other, all occupying almost equal space. Now I'll go ahead and set the margin 30 pixels and 5%. And then I'll go for the popular news H2 tag. I'll give it the margin 0, padding 5 pixels. I'll set the color to white. Now I'll set the background color for each and every headings. Now it is not visible, so let's go to the index.html and check it. I have set the class name as latest, but it should be ID, so I'll change that out. And you can see them now, but our pics is still missing. So if we go to our style.css and check, you can see I've given the wrong ID name. So now it is perfectly fine. You can see the featured latest in our pics section. Now let's go ahead and darken the images for the news section by setting the brightness to 0.7. This helps the text become much more visible. So now if I open the browser window, you can see the text is much more visible this way. Now let's style the text for each and every images. I'll set the font size to 14 pixels. I'll also say the position absolute. I'll give color as white, and I'll set the Z index to 2 so it would appear on top of the images. I'll give the positioning as bottom 5 pixels so it is pushed all the way down. And then I'll set the font size to 24 pixels and the font weight bolder. I'll set the padding to 10 pixels. Now I'll set the featured section flex to, so it will have a lot of space, and the rest latest and our pics as flex 1. So the featured section occupies double the size of amount than the rest of them. So now you see the output is just as we desired. Now when I hover over the news container, you want some sample transition to happen. So I'll make the text appear a little bit above. So when you go here and hover over this, you can see the text is a little bit above. but it's just happening very abruptly. So let's go ahead and set the transition duration for the popular news text as 500 milliseconds, so the transition happens smoothly. Also, when we hover over the news container, let's set the cursor to the pointer so it changes to the hand symbol. Alright, let's move on to the next section, world, sports and the recent news. If you see here, there is a heading, an image, another heading and the news description. So let's start with a section called More News, which contains the entire section. And then I'm going to create a div class for the news section and the aside section. The news section will have two articles, one for the world news and one for the sports news. Inside the world news, we have an image, a heading and some dummy text that describes the news. So I'll go ahead and quickly paste the code for this. So if you go to our browser file, you can see the content here, heading, image, another heading and some text. In the aside section, you just have a heading, an image and a small description. So I'll go ahead and quickly paste that too. So you have each news inside a container called recent news, and inside that you have an image and a text file. So when we go to that browser window, you can see them. Let's go ahead and mention the recent heading. The entire section is under the class called More News. So let's first go ahead and set display flex for this one. As soon as I set the display flex, you can see the news and the aside section come one next to another. Next, we'll take the news section, which covers both the world and sports article, and set the display to flex for that. As soon as I said that, the world and sport come next to each other, and if we horizontally scroll them, you can see the recent aside section too. Now here I'm going to set the background color as black, and I'll say the justify content space around, but nothing of this works. I'll also set the font color to white so that is visible. As you know, the space around would not work unless you give some width to the sections. So it will know how much space that is left to space around. So let's say the flex spaces for the new section is 70% and for the aside section as 25%. Now it is not working because we need to set the image width to 100%. Now it works. There is a space around the new section and the aside section, and also in between them. News. Now for the news section, let's set the justify content to space between. Again, we need to set the flex basis for the world and sport. So for both of them, I'm going to set the flex basis as 45%. So now there is space in between them. I'm going to set the padding for the entire section, 0 and 5%. Now let's style the H2 tag for the world. I'm going to set the background color to be 21755B. And for the sports, I'm going to set the background color as 3C1B75. Now inside the more news, I'm going to set the text align to justify so the description is much clearer. Now let's go ahead and design the recent news section that contains the image and paragraph under the aside section. First, I will set the display to flex so the image and the text appear one next to each other. And for the image, I'm going to set the width to 70% and height 70% and also margin. Now I'll style the paragraph tag inside the recent news. I'm going to set the font size to 15 pixels. I'll resize the windows so you can see the output as we code. I'll give the font weight bold. And also I'm going to give a margin auto so it is vertically and horizontally centered. Now let's style the entire aside section. I'm going to give the padding 10 pixels. I'll give the border 1 pixel solid and white color, so there's some border there. I'm also going to give the margin auto 0, so it is vertically centered. I'm going to give the border radius as 5 pixels, the edges are curved. Finally, let's give some padding to the headings. 0, 10 pixels, and I'm also going to give the margin as 10 pixels, 0, 0, 0, so the heading is properly placed. Alright, let's move to the final section where you have the About section, Instagram and Subscribe section. They all come under the Footer section, so I'm going to create a footer tag. I'm going to give a div class for social links. And inside this container tag, I'm going to create 3 sections, one for About, one for Instagram, and one to Subscribe. Inside the About section, you have a heading, some text, and the social icons. The social icons are full of font awesome icons, so I'm just going to copy and paste the entire thing. A H2 tag, a paragraph tag, and the social icons under a div class called social icons footer. For the Instagram, we just have the heading, images, and a button. So I've copied the images. So let's go to the index.html and see. You can see all the images below the Instagram. We need to create a button, so let's create that. I'm going to give the class called footer button. And the value is going to be view on Instagram. Now finally, the subscribe section, I'm going to create a heading, H2 tag, saying subscribe to news today. And I'm also going to create a paragraph tag saying that enter your email address to subscribe to this blog and receive notifications of new posts by email. I'm going to give an email input type. And finally, the button to subscribe. Let's go to the index.html and see whether we got that. Yes. Now let's go to the style.css and style them, starting with the social links. I'm going to set the display to flex, so all of them come next to each other, all the sections. Now I'm going to set the padding as 5%, so there is some padding around. And I'm going to say the justify content as space between. So there is space in between each sections. Now this doesn't work properly if you don't set the flex spaces, so I'm going to set the flex spaces as 1 for all the sections. Sorry, 30% for all the sections. Now they are all equally spaced and the 10% of the space is spread around and in between. Now I'll style the Instagram images. I'm going to give some padding to them. Now I'll design the social icons, footer icons. I'll give the font size as 37 pixels and I'll give the padding as 5 pixels. Let's go to the browser and see. Yes, it's fine now. Now let's design the footer buttons. The subscribe button here. I'm going to give the border as 1 pixel solid 21996F3 and then the font color the same. Well, it's not working because it's footer button, not footer buttons. So when I change that, hit save. You can see the style has changed now. I'll quickly resize so you can see the output as we code. Now I'll set the font size to 14 pixels. I'll give font weight as bolder and I hit save. Background color as white. Margin 20 pixels auto. I'm also going to give this a padding 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Finally, I'll set the cursor to pointer. Now let's design the hover property. I'll set the color to white and the background color as the same blue color. So when I hover over the button, you can see the style has changed. Finally, the copyright information, I have pasted it in the div class called copyright. And finally, let's go ahead and style this copyright information. I'm going to give it a width of 100%, set the background color as black. I'll give the font color as white, padding 5 pixels. I'll set the text align to center. And if you open the browser, you can see it's completely fine now. So with that, we have completed the website design in the desktop screen. But if you resize it to a smaller window, say for a mobile screen, it is all cluttered, it is congested completely. You can't see the social icons anymore and all the items are completely congested into the smaller space. But if you see our final output, you can see it comes one beneath each other properly. So we'll try to do the same using the Flexbox and you'll see how easy it is to do it. So first set the media to max width 600 pixels. Let me bring the screen up so you can see the output as we code. First, starting with the website header, I'm going to start with the image. I'm going to give a smaller width and height here and also give a smaller padding here. Now for the H1 tag, I'm going to give a smaller font size of 15 pixels. As soon as I make it smaller, you can see the social icons coming back up. Now let's go for the breaking news section entirely. I'm going to give the padding as 10 pixels. I'm going to give the flex wrap as wrap. I'm going to give the height as 70 pixels. So the breaking news and the breaking news come beneath one another. The flex has been wrapped, so it comes one next to each other. Now for the navigation. If you see, the toggle button is under the class called navbar toggler icon. So we need to make that visible. So let's go down inside the media tag and let's copy the icon, and I'm going to say the background image as images/menu.jpg. When I hit save, you can see the menu image appearing right here. You can paste any image that you want here. I'm just pasting a basic hamburger menu here. We need to style the navbar collapse, the navigation that we want once it is in the mobile screen. So here I'm going to give the background color black. Now when I click this, the items are appearing one beneath the other. So to fix this, we need to set the Z index to 16, which is the highest point, so it is appearing above all the other elements. So the navigation works perfectly fine now. Let's go on to the next section. So in the popular news, we need to set the flex wrap to wrap. So we say the Flexbox that it is okay to wrap the sections for the smaller screens. And then we'll come to the media tag and we'll say #featured flex auto. As soon as we do that, you can see it is appearing perfectly fine. When I expand, it goes back to the normal one, and when I shrink it to the mobile screen, it comes one beneath the other. Now for the world, sport and the aside section. So I'll go for the news section, the aside section, world and sports section. First I'm going to set the flex wrap to wrap for the news section and the more news section. Now you can see they appear one beneath the other. Finally, the last footer section for social links. I'll first set the flex wrap to wrap, and I'm going to include the social section links to Flexbox's 100, so they occupy the entire space here. So just like that, you can see they all come beneath one another. So here I'm going to set the border width as 0. We don't want a border here in the side section for the mobile view. Finally, let's give some space for each section for social links. So I'm going to go for the social links section. And I'm going to give it a padding of 15 pixels to 0. So there is some padding in between each and every section. And just like that, we finished the news website so easily and comfortably using Flexbox. I hope this video gave you some information about Flexbox and CSS styling. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up down below. Please share your feedbacks in the comments section and subscribe to CodeSpot for more such videos. Thanks for watching.